quick tour of the QC6125 Janome sewing machine for the benefit of someone special. Okie dokie, so here we go. Here is the machine. Let's just talk about what's going on here. So under here we have the foot, the needle plate, feed dogs. It has a needle threader. It also has a gadget at the back here which is used when you're doing buttonholes and you're using the buttonhole foot. All these details are in the instructions. Key to using the needle threader is that the needle should always be in its highest position. Okay, so if I just turn the feed dog, sorry, the flywheel, and I'm going to bring it till it's in its highest position. That is and in the central position as well. That is the time when you can thread your needle. It's really easy to break the little wire that's just inside of that little bit at the end. And once that's bent, you won't be able to use the needle threader again. Okay, so we have here needle down, needle up. Okay. That again you can use to make sure that that needle is in its highest position rather than using the flywheel at the side. That's your reverse, so for doing a little bit of back stitching. And then we have across the front. So this here is your needle width, so that's what's going to take the needle, which will swing it from the left to the right. And depending on where that's set, at the moment it's set so the needle will be in the middle, and if you were to take it over to the other side, what that does is take the needle right across to the side of the foot. So I'm just going to show you what happens when I do that. So there is the needle, and I'm going to take that slider all the way across, so you can see that that is what is altering the width of your needle. And it depends on what stitch you choose as to whether the needle will just still carry on sewing straight or whether it will go from side to side. Okay, so the next selector here, that is your stitch length, so that determines how long the stitches are going to be. 0 being that the needle will just go up and down and there wouldn't be any length. Ideally 2.5 is a really good normal straight stitch length. Okay, so then those are your stitches. So you've got quite a selection of utility stitches there. And here in the display, it's telling us the stitch number that we've chosen. So number 2, number 2. It's telling you what for this straight stitch, what is ideal. So stitch length, it's quite happy to go from 0 to 6.5, and that's for the width, and for the length it'll go from 1.5 to 4. That's its recommended use for that stitch. If I go to the side, I can alter that stitch selector, so I'm just going to turn it towards me one. And here what it's telling me now is that I have selected a zigzag stitch, stitch number 3, which is here. It's telling me that I can use any of the settings on the zigzag on the stitch width from 1 to 6.5, and it recommends 0.5 to 3 when it comes to actual stitch length. So that's going to determine the lengths between the zigs and the zags. Okay, so the stitch selector is this one on the side, and that one there is your flywheel, and this is where your cable cycles and your on-off switch are. Okay. So then we go into the top of the machine, and here we have the diagram to show you how to thread the machine, and the details there to show about turning the dial. And here it's just giving you a selection of your stitches and showing you your stitches. And then importantly, so this is buttonhole, and it's telling you that you can use a zigzag of 4 to 6.5. There's the picture of your of your buttonhole. So this here is referring to the sliding button at the top, which is that width selector, length selector, and then this here is your tension dial. Okay, so if you were to choose buttonhole stitch, you leave it on auto, and that's the foot you use. If you want to use straight stitch, it recommends 1.5 straight stitch to 4, needle position in the centre, and that's the foot it recommends that you use. And as you go along, so if we go, let's go to this one here. So if we go to this stitch here, it is telling you to use width 5. It's not showing a recommendation for the width, for the length, so I'd probably just go 2.5 and just see how it goes. But it's telling you to put on foot C. So all along here it's telling you the recommended foot for the stitch that you've selected. And then here in the top, so this here is your tension dial on your, or the foot, the presser foot dial, sorry. That you turn, if you went to 3, that's putting a lot of pressure on. So if you were using some very fine fabrics that need to be taken through, or if you've got some bulky stuff, then you would turn that dial to a lower number, which takes the pressure off the foot a little bit and enables the feed dogs to do their job of taking the fabric through. Okay, so this is your tension dial. When you turn it, you only need to turn it like little tiny bits. Okay, you don't need to go from 4 to 3 to 2. 4 is a normal default, but you're just little tiny increments. All that is doing is taking the tension off 2 discs which are located in here. So when your thread comes down through there, it's going through 2 discs, and it's just the tension on those between when the thread goes through. It's just how that those discs hold the thread. Okay. Another tip as well is when you are sort of threading your machine, it is always best to make sure that you're threading the machine with the foot up. This is because when you lift the presser foot up, that opens the discs in there and allows the thread to run through. There are machines, and it has been done before, where the presser foot's down, so when you're threading your round, you bring the thread down through what you think it's gone through the tension discs, and sometimes it goes to the side. So in other words, it's not under tension, and that's when you start to get a lot of problems with your sewing. And everybody blames the tension, and all that the tension is 2 discs, and if the thread's gone through it and you've altered it slightly with little increments, you won't have a problem. So here is where your thread goes on, the thread spool, and at the moment I've got the small disc on there. Now these are quite handy little things, because I'll just get a reel of thread out. I'll get a couple of reels actually. She says. Okay, so I'm just going to show a little. So if you were to put your thread on your spool, or onto the spool holder, sorry, if it's one of these type, then you use the cap that way and it fits in beautifully. Okay, if you are to use those type, a small one, you would use it, the cap that way. Now if you were then to get larger reels of thread, in the accessory box to the side there is a large cap. Okay, so I'll just put this little one back for now. There we go, so that goes on there, and that's what holds your thread. Okay, so we have bobbin winder, and there's the foot that we use for the buttonhole. I'll just show you that actually. So when you want to take the foot off, you want to change your feet. Sorry about that noise, just putting the thing back. If we go around the side here, and you can see this little black lever there, all you need to do is to touch that, and it's like a gate opening, to be fair. It's like a gate catch. You press it and the foot falls off. There we go. I don't know if you can see underneath, but if you look at the foot, the little black bit, so as I press that, the black bit disappears and then it goes back. So it's just a catch, and it works in the same way as opening and closing a gate, just in the garden. Okay, so I'm just going to get the buttonhole foot. I'm just going to slide that under. This is where having a couple of hands might have been in use. Bear with me. And I'll have to go a little bit hands-free just for a moment. Sorry. So I've lifted the foot up a little bit more, and then I'll just clip it back into place. Okay, so sorry about that. Not quite so easy with one hand. Okay, so when you actually put that on, so it's clipped into place. I'm not going to show you how to do a buttonhole now. I'm not going to show you all that. But what I am going to say is, earlier I said about this little gadget at the side, which comes down. And that's really important, because when you've got a button in the back, so when you place a button in there, what this does, there's a stopper at the front, which is this stopper. I'll just lift that back up out of the way. And a stopper at the back. And this bit here, with that down, will enable the machine to just do the buttonhole to the size you want. So that's what that's for. So it looks like it's an unimportant little gadget, but it is actually quite important. Let's put that away. And again, to get that foot off, all I need to do is to go around the back again, and foot up would be useful. There we go, so foot up and push the lever and it falls down. Okay. There we go. And that's out of the way, and then we bring the other one down. And just, so there's, let me just explain this actually, because I'm not doing it very well, am I? If you look over there, there's a little bar. Okay, that little bar is what's going to go into the catch. And you bring that down. And I just kind of position it so it's just under. I need to go back a little bit more. And all you need to do is to bring the presser, whoops a daisy, bring the presser foot lever down, and it will hold, go straight on, lift it back up, and voila. There we go. Easier than undoing screws and messing about. In here is where your bobbin goes. Okay. What else can I say about this machine? Not a lot really. I'd need to get it up and going. There is, as well as your foot control, controlling your speed of your machine, you've also got the tortoise and the hare speed here. So that right down there is as slow as it will go, and even if you put your foot flat out on the pedal, it won't go any faster. Okay, and then up to there, when you put your foot on the pedal, if you put it right to the floor, the machine would go as fast as it is that it's actually able to do. Yeah, I don't think there's much more I can say about this machine now. You can put the lid down, which helps to keep it dust free. And this is going to go now to a lovely lady who's going to be doing some dressmaking. So I've shown around the machine what's where. An extra little bit would be, wouldn't it, to actually show. So Daisy, if I can, there we go, sorry. That lever that's there, that is the lever that takes your machine, like takes the foot up and down. Okay, not the best video you will ever watch on the planet, but hopefully it explains a little bit of what everything is on the machine. Oh, there we go. Accessories case. I've put the accessories, like the feet and everything in there. That can come off completely, as can what's known as the table, so that you can use the machine free arm. So if you're doing sleeves or something circular, you've got it's a little bit easier for you to get backwards and get stitch round. And this little button here, this slider, is for feed dog up or feed dog down. I don't mess with the auto buttonhole wheel. It's not often that you need to use that, and that's something you come to learn to use as and when it's necessary. But the feed dogs up and feed dogs down mean that the feed dogs, so these little teeth things under here, when you want to do free motion or darning and you don't want the machine to take the fabric through, you want to do it manually, then you can drop these feed dogs just by putting that across, and now the feed dogs will still be moving underneath, but they won't be coming up to the top of the plate and taking your fabric through. But always remember when you finish sewing to put it back, because it's a bit of a nuisance when you start to sew something and the machine's not going anywhere and you're wondering why and what's going on, and it's just because the feed dogs are still down. Okay, I hope that's been a little bit enlightening. Take care.